Hi everyone, Mike Holmes here. This is the Know Your Reno podcast, where listeners will hear from experts from Improve Canada.
Hi, my name is Olga, and I'm the host of the Know Your Reno podcast. Today we have Kirill in our studio from INVSTY Realty, and he's going to be talking to us a little bit about the post-COVID-19 real estate market.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me here. I'm a commercial broker. I work with the Royal LePage Real Estate Services. I also have my team here in Improve, which is called INVSTY Realty. We're specializing in commercial real estate, investment real estate, which is pretty much anything. I'm just gonna give you an average perspective, let's say, overall GTA, for overall residential, overall industrial, commercial, stuff like that. So for residential real estate, everybody's talking about it. The prices are crazy. The prices went up from like being a 1.4 mil in 2020. Now it's a 2.1 mil for detached residential house in Toronto. And I'm talking about GTA, right?
Yeah.
Basically, we have a supply and demand problem. We don't have enough housing, and in the nearest future, we're not going to get it because there's not enough development comparing to the amount of people coming in. Well, the picture is a bit different in the commercial. When COVID happened, there was a mass exodus from the office space, right? Offices were closed. People were just basically working from home, and big companies started to pull out from the office space. We've got a couple of companies coming in that started to take office space and change the use. Let's say it was an office.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's partially it could be like a school or something else. Some even went as far as changing it into living quarters.
Right. So if someone wanted to get into commercial real estate and wanted to get into investing, what is the process of rezoning an entire building to, say, go from commercial to residential?
I had an experience in participating in such a project, I would say 5-6 years ago, when my clients tried to sell a commercial space in downtown Chatham,
Mm-hmm.
and the property just wouldn't sell. Like we couldn't get anybody to lease because it was like we had the doctors on the ground floor, and then we got 2 more floors vacant. So it was, I would say, about a year and a half in the market, and I suggested to change the use. The zoning was commercial strip, something like that, and it allowed for about 30% of residential. The sellers did a minor amendment, which is like you're not doing a full rezoning, you're just doing a minor amendment. They increased the number of units, I think, from 6 to 12.
So it's actually possible, right? Converting
Yeah.
these commercial spaces to residential. Do you think that if that's a trend that kept going, would that solve the shortage of the housing crisis that we're currently experiencing?
The biggest issue is that office buildings are built differently. In some ways, it's you're gonna need to get a new plumbing
Mm-hmm.
installed, and the concrete floor not always permit that. It's either gonna be very expensive, or just not possible at all. In some
Right.
cases, it's doable. In some cases, the zoning would allow you to do an apartment building. Sometimes you're gonna have to go through the zoning process, and that might take, I don't know, sometimes a year, 2 years. It might not happen at all if the city doesn't want it. Yeah.
Yes. So now I kind of want to move into
Mhm.
what people are more interested in is how do they start investing into real estate, especially, someone who's looking to buy their first home in this kind of market. How would they do that, and how is that different from doing it, 2-3 years ago?
Well, that's it's amazing question. I don't think that anybody can answer that because it's very depending on your personal finances, depending on what can you start with.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're renting right now, you're probably already paying too much. You're already like having troubles balancing the budget,
Probably.
and getting from there to paying a mortgage for something that costs 1.5-2 mil. It's just like for somebody just not possible. Generally, I would say like young generation, they can start by investing in either a residential real estate or commercial real estate, and there are different ways. Like you don't need to spend a lot of money. In the commercial investment properties that are cash flowing, sometimes banks looking at the property itself, not at your personal finances. They're going to be looking at it, but it's the weight is not there as much as the property itself.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm buying a Tim Hortons, for example, right, I'm just buying a piece of land that has a long lease with the Tim Hortons facility. For banks, it's a safe investment because they know that Tim Hortons is not going anywhere for the next 15, 20 years. So you have the income guaranteed. Something like that might cost, I don't know, 500, 600, 700,000, right? You would need to come up with 35%, maybe 25%, depending on the bank you're working with. And you can start from there, right? And technically, you're going to be getting a cash flow that will ease your burden with regards to your rent. Mm-hmm. It's going to ease your burden with regards to pretty much anything with the cash flow, right? And slowly you can add value. You can add maybe something else to that plaza. Maybe you can buy another piece of land, just kind of extend it. There are so many ways to add value to a commercial property.
Well, it also now sounds like it might be cheaper to buy a Tim Hortons than it is to a single detached residential home in Toronto.
And Tim Hortons is it's considered a good tenant. That's why it's going to be more expensive. You can buy, I don't know, maybe a convenience store in the same tenants for 100,000. You have a small unit in a plaza, right? Where the convenience store is your tenant.
Yeah. No, I'm just thinking if you're investing $100,000, you might as well just live there. Cheapest real estate you're going to get.
If you're working from home, why not? Buy a multiplex, buy like a, I don't know, 2-3 story building, right? You're going to have tenants and you're going to have a couple of commercial properties. And then just work from there, work from home, let it cash flow.
I think we just figured out how millennials are going to start buying their first properties.
But again, a lot of millennials, they don't go north of Steels.
Yeah.
They for them Toronto is that's it. North of Steels. Oh yeah, that's like a wild country there. I'm not going there. And investing somewhere in Timmins, somewhere in I don't know, Pembroke, Windsor. It's too far. It's out of the comfort zone, right? Yeah. We own a self-storage facility near Pembroke. Mm-hmm. It's 3.5 hours away from here. Do I ever there? No.
No, why
I've been there twice. One time when I just looked at it to buy it, and then after closing to talk to the manager. Mm-hmm. Something that does not really take any kind of resources from you. That's a good investment in my perspective.
Yeah.
That's your solution. If somebody is really looking for an answer, they just have to be open-minded. You don't really have to be stuck on the idea that no, I have to buy a house, I have to put a tenant, or I have to buy this and then pay it off, right? The idea of any investment in real estate, your tenant has to cover all the expenses and you still have to have a profit margin to cover for a blooper, right? Happens interest rates go through the roof, right? Or something like that happens. One of the best investments, it's a commercial real estate.
Yeah.
I'm Mike Holmes. I've been trying to educate people on how to build it right, how to prioritize your renovations, and how to pick products and materials that will last. We love speaking to the Improve experts about how they are supporting the skilled trades. This is important to us, and it takes a whole community to stand behind the effort. Visit improvecanada.com to start your home improvement project the right way. Subscribe to the Know Your Reno podcast to learn more about how to renovate it right. And if you do see me at Improve Canada, please come by and say hi. Hope you enjoy the podcast and keep making it right.
So, seeing as we are in a home improvement center, right, and a lot of our listeners are interested in home improvement and renovation, I want to talk a little bit about flipping houses. What is that like now? Because I know it used to be lucrative a few years ago, but it may not be anymore, especially now that we're in a real estate bubble.
Well, there are a couple of factors. The lumber prices affect everything. You need to build something. You need to do a reno. You want to build a new deck. It's all lumber, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're taking a house from just to do a quick flip, or you want to do renovation and refinance and put a tenant in there, at the end of the day, if your costs going up, what is your profit margin? Are you really putting out money from your pocket just to get there and just because you have to? And I also noticed that a lot of contractors like started to increase their prices. There wasn't enough contractors to serve the market, and it was like an uphill battle pretty much to get somebody to do anything. Like a fix and flip style scenario, like during COVID, was on one hand it was very expensive, like getting more expensive, and the profit margin was going down. But if you were to just resell it, yeah, you had a good chance of scoring because the market was just going crazy, right? But again, like it's from an investment perspective, I like to play safe. I don't like relying on the market. I want to see cash flow. I want to close on the property and I want to get cash flow into my account at that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're kind of investing just adjacent to maybe the general real estate market and how, people who aren't maybe experts in the field, they're investing in sort of, like you said, they buy a house, they want to put a tenant in there and they just want that passive income. Whereas you're looking for outside investments that are maybe more lucrative that people aren't really gearing towards.
You really need to know a little bit more outside of the scope of residential real estate. Because how's your usual real estate investment starts? You buy a house, you live in it, you sell it, you get a profit. And you're like, oh, okay, what if I just double it? I buy 2 houses, right? This one I'm going to put a tenant in. He's going to pay for it. And then it works because price is just going up, right? But then something happens like 2016, 2017, for example. And then all of a sudden, you're sitting on a mortgage and you can't pay it, right? What's happening in the market right now is that there's a definite slowdown of offers. Like just starting 2 weeks ago, agents started to notice that there's like all of a sudden there is no offers at the offer date, or there's like they were expecting 40, they got 2. For the market to go down and to burst that bubble that everybody is expecting to burst finally, right? I don't know what have to happen. Like to be honest, it has to be probably on a government level, and they're gonna say, you know what? From today's date, it's gonna be 15%. But like it was a couple of times when government interfered into normal market relationship, right? So the supply and demand that has to balance itself out, and you have a outside influence by government saying, you know what, no, I like it this way. So what they're doing, they're basically deferring the market, natural way of the market, to a later date. That's why we had this long going of prices ever increasing. Just then there was a small hiccup in 2016-17, and it skyrocketed again.
Right. Yeah. So currently, you've been in this field for a very long time. Are you finding the market more or less predictable than you're used
to? Today, I wouldn't even bother predicting it. What's going to happen on the world politics arena and what's going to happen in world economy, like another, transport supply chain crisis in a way, like who knows, right? Yeah. So in this case, I'm just getting back and like kind of sitting on the sidelines, watching for what's going to happen. It might be another interest rate increase, even though if it's a 0.25, but still, it's some people might start feeling it, especially the families that are living like paycheck to paycheck and they're just trying to balance the budget. Like even the slightest increase in interest rate, they're gonna increase their mortgage payment. And if it's a 1.5 million or 2 million house, and somebody in the family lost their job or something during the COVID, there is a good chance that it might influence, and they might have to put the house in the market. In the area where they had 1, 2 homes, 2, 3 homes, now it's 15 homes. And the buyer is going to be, okay, you know what? I'll wait another week. And I'll wait another week. And then there's more homes. And buyers are sitting and waiting for something to happen. Like in the first week of COVID, we were selling a house during the lockdown. Like we put a house for sale. And I think it was like March 13 when they were introducing the lockdown. We had last open house on March 10 or something like that. Thankfully, we got the offer, and the buyer bought, because after that, there was a slowdown of like no interest for a month or so, and then slowly people started to come back to the market. So again, like to try to predict it, I wouldn't. Sorry.
So one of my last questions is, are you seeing any new trends that are popping up on the market, something that maybe we are not used to seeing quite as much with COVID, with the exodus from office spaces, with all of that? What are we seeing now?
Well, if you look at the generally in Ontario, right, or during the COVID, before COVID, we had just normal like ebb and flow kind of market, and like if you were, let's say, you're in a cottage business, you have a cottage, you're renting it through Airbnb. There wasn't a serious influence for you to change the price or whatever. But COVID happened, borders are closed, people have to go somewhere, and the cottage prices. Well, first of all, the Airbnb prices went up. Like cottage prices went up. Somebody who bought a cottage for 400,000 in March of 2020 would be able to sell the same cottage for $1 million in 2021-22, right? It's the market really like flipped on its head all of a sudden, because people like they want to get out, they want to like distress somewhere, right?
Yeah.
In Canada, it's north, lakes, forest, whatever. Like I want to get out, especially if you take a number of office workers who are in downtown, living in a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, right? You might have like a wife, couple of kids, a dog and a cat, right? Living in an apartment. But if you're at work 9 to 5, 9 to 6, 9 to 9, right? You don't really feel it.
Mm-hmm.
You're going back home, you sleep, go back to work, right? And all of a sudden you're stuck in the same in the same box with your family, with your cat and the dog for 2 months. You're going insane. You want to get out.
Yeah.
You're trying to book something on Airbnb, and it's all like $500 per night, $600 per night. That caused different movement. People started to try to sell their condos, try to buy cottages or just anything up north. It's very rare to find anything waterfront within 3-hour radius under $1 million.
Wow.
Yeah, it used to be 300,000,
Yeah.
400,000. Now it's $1 million. It's a starting price. It's changed also. People who were starting to do their Airbnb business, right? They thought maybe I'll do a resort business. I'll buy a resort, like a mom and pop kind of resort with 15, 16 cottages, 2 cottages, 3 cottages, whatever, right? It's a piece of land, couple of homes, waterfront, lakefront, something. The difference is, if you're buying a cottage, it's a residential property. If you're buying a resort, it's a commercial property. It's technically bound by different rules. You're looking at a rate of capitalization. You're looking at its income. If I'm looking at a resort, I'm not going to be buying it because it's sitting on the waterfront. Looks nice, right? I'm going to be buying it because it brings so much money. And now I'm buying, 10, 15, 20 acres of waterfront land with small cottages, but it might be like 1 million, 1.5 million. The price of a cottage in not even Muskoka, Huntsville, for example, right? So those were the trends. People went to started to switch to resort, to waterfront land for the properties that like industrial properties, like triple net tenant who pays for everything, for all their expenses, and it's a hands-off experience, like a hands-off investment, like a self-storage, like this Tim Hortons that as an example that I brought, right? Something like that. Like you have a property, you put a tenant, and you forget about it. That became really something very lucrative. I'm not saying let's all get up and go buy self-storage, because you really need to know what you're doing. But at the end of the day, like something like that shows that what, people don't want to play with the landlord-tenant tribunal. They want to play with the commercial rules. So that's one of the trends. I think the overall trend in general.
So what I'm understanding is we should all go buy a Tim Hortons and then buy a cabin in the woods and just leave.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea.
I know, right? Do you have any closing remarks or anything kind of parting words of wisdom that you want to leave our listeners with, especially if they are looking into investing in real estate and entering this market right now?
Don't be afraid. Don't be stuck on a picture that you saw on the TV on HGTV, for example, like flip, fix and flip, right? Like there are other ways. The opportunities are endless, pretty much, and the ways to add value to a property, the ways to increase the income, like you really have to just open your mind and just look at it. Never suggest you do is rely on the market, because market can change like any day, any minute.
Especially as we've seen.
Yeah, and you won't be able to see any kind of triggers to predict. It might just click like that, and all of a sudden you wake up in the morning and your home is not worth anything.
And all of your Bitcoin is gone, and that's it, and you're done.
Yeah. Don't even get me started on Bitcoin or NFTs or anything.
Do you have any experience with digital real estate that is now becoming very popular?
Yeah, I heard about it, but I haven't really tried buying. Even though I did see that there's Improve Canada Center, you can buy in one of the platforms.
No way.
Well, that's the platform that has basically you're buying a map square, right? So you're looking at the Toronto map, and yeah, there are a couple of squares. I think the price for Improve was like $28 on that map. There you go. There is an advice for you. Yeah. But I know that just yesterday I just read that HSBC actually is getting into that market. I think Scotiabank is also getting into that market. So crypto is also there. Like I just don't believe in it yet, right? Like I do have my investments there. Like don't get me wrong, but this is like something that, you know what, this is the money that I'm ready to lose, and I'm gonna put it there and see if it does anything, right?
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see how that portion of the market, what happens, what are going to be the trends, and I guess we'll only really know in a year or two or however long.
Well, we can start by buying a piece of Improve and virtual reality and then see how that
well,
goes.
I'm already calling dibs on that, so you can't buy it.
Can I at least buy my unit on that map?
I'll think about it. We'll get an agreement going.
Okay, sounds good.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today and talking to us.
Yeah.
It was definitely very interesting to learn about some of the trends and what we're seeing and what we could or couldn't anticipate, because right now, like you said, we don't really know. So time will tell.
Yep. I love it. Thank you, Olga.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Know Your Reno. If you would like to get in touch with today's speaker or any of our large number of showrooms at Improve Canada, please check the description for a link to book an appointment with us at Canada's largest home improvement center. Don't forget to keep in touch with us on our socials, and we will see you next week for another value-packed episode to make your next home renovation a breeze.